We are holding on Amud Nun Hey. They will be the final shir on the Maimah Lulav ve-Aravah. We have two paragraphs to learn. We have invested a lot of time and energy explaining how the Oisiyah Sheba Nefesh can be found in all madrigas, going into the Etama Nefesh, Vaitin Chochma, Bina, Pnimius Bina, Chitenius Bina, which is already Machshava, and in Dibur, as we said that Efsha, not possible, the Eir to be Miskala without Oisiyas. Efsha Shem Gilu Eibli Oisiyas. So there's Oisiyas on all madrigas. The difference in the Oisiyas is when the Oisiyas are deeper in Nefesh. For sure in Etzema Nefesh. But even in Madrigas of Chachma and Pnimis Bina, the Oisiyas are not Nikarim. They're not noticeable because they're Beheder HaYeshes. They lack Yeshes. And even in Machshava, when it gets to Chitzenius Bina of a person, Machshava also, the Oisiyas are much more subtle and aren't as defined as we find when they come into Dibur. In Dibur already there's Yeshus Oisiyas, and that's why it's able to be Niskala Lazulas. And we explained that the reason why the Oisiyas are in a state of Yeshus in Dibur is because of the Tzimtzum Ha'oir. The Tzimtzum Ha'oir is what causes the Yeshus Ha'oisiyas. So since the Oisiyas are there the whole time, what is the fundamental difference between the Oisiyas in Dibur, the Oisiyas in Machshava, the Oisiyas in Pnimius Bina, the Oisiyas in Chachma, the Oisiyas in Etzma Nefesh? The difference is the extent to which the Oir is Begilui or the Oir is Betimtzum. The Oir is Bespashus, Begilui, or the Oir is Betimtzum. As the Oir is Tzamtzim, the Oisiyas become more Beyeshus. They emerge in a state of Yeshus. Now we're going to explain how that is played out Lamaila. And it's going to be a difficult paragraph. It's going to be not much hasbara, mainly just locating things. We're not going to get caught up too much in the details, try to explain it in just as simple a way as possible, because the context of the way this is Lamaila is going to be explained much more by Riches later, next minor, and further. I don't want to get bogged down with it now. Okay? And then the final paragraph that concludes the Maimah is a Geschmacke Aveda de Kashtikl. As we will see. Yeah, Amidun Hey, paragraph beginning by Dugma. So we can see how this is all paralleled in the Eilamus Elyonim with the way the Oisiyos manifest and appear, and in some cases disappear, Lamaila. The notion of Oisiyos Hadibur Oisiyos Machshava have a parallel also Lamaila. ve-Aravah, ve-Aravah, chuli. We have psukim which talk about the Eibish's Dibur, the Eibish's Machshava. So Dibur Elyon is in Malchus Vatzilus. Eibish's Machshava is in Bina, Chitzenius Bina Vatzilus. Yeah? So Oisiyos is in Chitzenius Bina. Malchus Tzbuna, but just like we said in the person, there's Oisiyos in every madriga, also Lamaila. In Atzilus, in Pnimius Bina, you also find Oisiyos. Pnimius HaMachshava. So too in Chachma, says in the pasuk, Va'asam Ivros Kodesh, he came with the holy multitudes or whatever. That means that you have the word Asa, he came. Asa is Lashon Ois, and Kodesh is a reference to Chachma. Shin Oisiyos bebechinas Chachma and shenikra Kodesh ki yedua ad shagam ba'atzma serin seif shifnei atzim tinishgam ki bechinas Oisiyos. Where do we see that? Kamayma ad shenivra elam hayehu shmei b'lvad. In Eirin seif shifnei atzimtzum, you have the reference actually nivra elam, which is before nivra elam, before the tzimtzum arishin. Hayehu u'shmei b'lvad. What's shmei? V'shem hu bechinas Oisiyos. A name. So a name is made up of letters. Like it says in the Zayah. So right at the beginning of the Zayah, it says, Bereish, whom nisa the Malka, Golif Golifu b'tehiru ilah. At the beginning, it was the decision of the decision of the king, the sort of the rotzen of the king, the desire of the king. Golif Golifu b'tehiru ilah. He engraved in the pure, the supernal pure thing. That's the best I can do for you. But you have a notion there of engraving. Golif Golifu. Yudua, the Reishu Minisa. What's the Reishu Minisa? What's the beginning of the decision? That was the simple Ratzon of Hashem to create the world. But before the creation of the world, before the Tzimtzum. What does Zayah say? Golif Golifu. Some say it means tracing, some engraving. The B'Poel is the union of Oisius. So we see there also a reference to Oisius in Ein Seif Lifnei HaTzimtzum. Shul B'chinas Makif HaKloli, the Ein Seif Lifnei HaTzimtzum. So in the Makif HaKloli, whatever. Again, we're not going to be Meirich. You can cut the Makedus if you want to have a better appreciation of the geography. Commission is boiler ill, the moshel, the nefesh. I have been and just like we explained above in the moshel of the nefesh. What is the difference between these types of ACAs, the multiple types of ACAs? The ACAs are that the ACAs of Dibur are felt, are sensed, even to somebody else. When it comes to Machshav, it's not so substantive and noticeable. Actually, in the Koran, another person can't read your thoughts. Only to yourself. So the same thing is true in the Eisus Elin. Dibrel in Malchus Vatzilus, the Eisus, the reference to Eisus there, after Eisus, which is Bechinas Yesh. To the extent where they are felt and noticed by Azulas. Through the Eisus of Malchus to Atzilus, it's able to create Eilamais and worlds and things that appear to be a Davazulas. That's the Nimshal. That's the key Nimshal. Furthermore, we mean by that the types of Eilamais which are Mamash Yesh, they appear to be completely detached from Elikus. When it comes to Eisus Machshava, when we talk about that, Lamaila Eisus Mechinas Bittul Yesa, the Bittul of Eisus Machshava is more significant, much more than in the Eisus of Adibur. But Eisus Adibur, the Mechinas Yesh and Ikarim Elazulas, able to create Eilamis Biyah. But Eisus Machshava, which is the Dag of Chitzenius Bin of Atzilus, the Eisus are in a greater degree of Bittul. Actually, Einim Negoshim Elazulas. They're not felt in the Eilamis Biyah. Hainish is Avu Mehem Eilamis Nivraim Shem Gamkim Mechinas Bittul Miuchadim Mekeirim. The impact of the Eisus Machshava is to create or to impact things that are comparable to it, a state of bittul and yichud with Hashem. That's a reference to those hidden worlds which aren't revealed. Which we have in that emotion of the fish that are in the sea that are completely subsumed into their source of life, meaning the water. So that's a major difference between the Eisus Adibur and the Eisus Machshava and their impact and their relevance. Well, a Mailam is there, and you go further higher, you go into Eisus HaChachma. She'ein Meshachim Klal L'Biyah. V'agilu Ha'kol B'atzilus Atzmei. She'b'chlalusu B'chinas Elikus Mamish Chol Yikanas. The Eisus of Chachma are reserved for Eilam Atzilus. Because they're in a state of a much higher degree of bittul, they're not shaykh to Dvarim the Zulas of the Elikus of Atzilus. So, and that's comparable to what we described above, the idea of having Eisus which aren't sensed, aren't noticeable. Then in such a state of bittul, they aren't in any way a source or an origin for the pirud of Eilam Esbiyah. The Yesh Loima, he says in the paragraph, in the bracket, the gam b'chinas pnimius binno l'mayla megilu b'viyah. Not just chachma is above and beyond anything in association with biyah. Even pnimius binno, the Eisus of pnimius binno also. That's which we say that the supernal mother, the mother being a reference to Bina, of the aim Chachman Bina, we say is Mekana B'Krisaya, that it nestles in the throne room, meaning in Olam Abriya. Hainu B'chinas Chitzenis Bin as a reference to Chitzenis Bin, the Eish Samachshava, Kamish Kosu, Beis Chaim, Shadrushi, Abiyah, Perik Aleph, Shu B'chinas Chitzenis, Levush HaChitzon Chuli. So there's this sense as the Isis become more sublime and more concealed and overwhelmed in a sense, or overshadowed by the Eir, where the Eir is more intense, such as in Pnimius Binna and in Chachma, then they become the Isis that are detached and incapable of impacting beyond the world of Atzilus, the world of Elikus. Once you reach Eilim Biyah, they have no shaykhs to such a thing. Masha'enkin, Isis Adibur of Malchus Vatzilus, where it can. It's a nimtza. The key takeaway is the Isis kol mashal amayla yoser heim bebechinas bittul yoser. Okay, that's the point. As you go higher and higher, Isis are everywhere. As you go higher and higher, the Isis become to a greater state of bittul, to the point where you are unaware that they even exist. The asvin ravin bebin of bein and bezah uzeirim bemalchus, that which we find in the Zohar and the Kisvei Arizal in many places. The explanation that in the Sefer Torah you have big letters, you have ordinary letters, and you have small letters. They associate that with the large letters are in Bina, the small letters are in Zah, the medium in Zah, and the small letters are in Malchus. So we just said that the more it's bittul you would associate with being small. Is where it's higher, but here it seems a reverse order. So he explains, Hari Bechinas Oisius the Binoim Asvin Ravravin Yosim Ibazal. So what do we mean when we say the Oisius of Bina are Ravravin, are large? They're large in relation to Zah. What's it mean by large? Haino Shehim Bechinas Klolis Yosim. Large in the sense that they are more klolistic. They're more encompassing. They're not individualized. When he gets to Zal Malchus, the Oisios are more defined individually, whereas in Malchus, in Bina, they're more included and encompassed by something larger, which reflects the idea that they're more bebittel, they're more beskalulus. They're not separated. Yeah. In what we say, the pismin of kel odin in davening on Shabbos, which goes according to the Aleph base, yish b'chol ois, for each letter of the Aleph base, you have daled v'hei or ivav tevis. You have sometimes 4, 5, or 6 words that make up the part of the stanza that's associated with that. Actually, even sometimes there's 3, I think. That's 4. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's a 3. Definitely 4, 5, or 6. It's the idea that it's a reflection of the Oisius of Bina, which is able to be koilol many letters in one. Meaning
that what?
The Kel Odin of Shabbos is a gilui of Bina, and therefore the Aleph base is the idea about how each letter can be koilol kama Oisius.
Oh, okay, fine.
But the small letters of Malchus, which are associated with Malchus in Zohar and Kisvei Arizal, they are beribu ischalkus. Where does that ischalkus come from? And that the multitudinous, the separation is because of their yeshus and their pirut. So it fits in with what we've said till now. you might look at it and it looks like it's saying the opposite of what we're saying, but really that is compatible with what we're explaining over here. So this now we will talk about all these madregas. Just like we talked about the Isis and Etzma Nefesh or the Tachlis Heda Yeshus and Bittul, so too in the Isis of Atzmus are entirely in a state of Bittul. It's as if you can't even say such a thing. For sure they have to be there, but it's like there's no Metzias or Isis. We know they're there, like it says in Isaiah. There was a Chakikas Oisius. We know that there was a name. There were Oisius. But the Oisius in such a state of bittul, they're not in a state. They're not Metzias at all. The Reishis Haschalos Metzias Oisius. Where does the Metzias Oisius begin? The Tzimtzum enables that the Oisius can be in a state of a Metzias, not completely bebittul. Through the Tzimtzum Ha'oir, like we explained, through Tzimtzum Ha'oir, you have the Haschalas Yeshus Ha'isius. But Oz Niskalu Metzias Ha'isius. They're always there. So it's not the pshat. Remember our original question very early in the moment. We're not saying that this is the Mokir Ha'isius. The Oir is not the Mokir Ha'isius, but the Tzimtzum Ha'oir is the Sibas Yeshus Ha'isius. Yeah?
Right.
Once there was the Tzimtzum Ha'oir, you could have the Oisius, and the Oisius are the Sheirish HaKelim. Kigam HaKelim Da'ak, even the Kelim of Adam Kadmi. Even though they're not really Kelim as such, because it's still in a very high Madrega, and it's just like the beginning of what could potentially become Kelim. They're for sure considered Kelim. And the viability to be Kelim in that context is because of the Tzimtzum. Reality, though, it's not in Ak, not in Kadmim, where you have Kalims to such an extent. Only Lagabi Erin Seif, but in reality, they're just a Sheirish is have as a Kalim. The Ikas Cholos HaKelim is in Akudim, which is a stage after Ak. Yeah. Kudim Brudin. If you remember Yitach Mitzvah, you should have that all located in the Olam Yishlifnei Olam Atzilus. Hainu, Fisha Sham, who Tzimtzum Ha'er Yisme Ba'akas, in Akudin, the Eir is more Metzumtzum. The more Metzumtzum the Eir, the more Metzias there is to the Oisias, the more Metzias there are to the Kelim. V'chein in Madregen, so too in every single Madrega. Kolshnis Amsim Ha'er Yisa, Nasu Ha'oisias, V'chenis Yesh Yisa, Ach V'chenis Malchus Tatzilus, Shesham Metzumtzum Ha'er B'Yisa. So you have a Tzimtzum through all the Madregas, to the extent that the Oisias become more and more Nikodim and Nergoshim, till you get the Malchus Tatzilus, where there's a Tzimtzum Ha'er to a much greater extent. The Oisias, the Malchus Tatzilus, are able to be classified as a Yesh. And they can even be shaykh to Ilmus Biyah. And that is the process. So that is the dogma, everything we explained in Nefesh Adam, the way it is Lamaila. Yeah, the paradigm is understood, right? If not all the madregas are crystal clear, but the principle of what it's trying to say is that the oisios kol mash lamayla yosem bebitul yosa, and it's through the tzimtzum ha'oir, but there is oisios in every single madrega. But the oisios, the way they are in the atzmim serin section now tzimtzum, are not b'chinas mitzias chas v'shalom, but they're definitely there, and it's through the tzimtzum rishon and the continuous tzimtzumim of the oir that you have the emergence of the oisios to be in a greater state of yesh, until you reach Malchus Tatzilus, where it's possible to have the creation of Eilam Biyah. Good? Okay, let's finish up. If you remember, this was in the context of how this mime has been structured. We had the pasuk from Yeshaya. We explained Eilam Atzilus. We explained Eilam Esbiyah. And then we brought the pasuk and the differences between them. And we explained it through the Eisis HaDibur of Malchus Atzilus, that you have the transition from Eilam Atzilus into Eilam Esbiyah. And then we brought the pasuk to understand that the Yeshus or Oisius of Malchus Atzilus is by dint of the fact there's a Gvura of Zah. The Gvura of Zah, which means the Tzimtzum Ha'ir of Zah, enabled that the Oisius HaDibur should be more by Yeshus than Metzias. Yeah, that's what we've said, yeah? In order for the Oisius of Malchus to be in a state of Yeshus, Yeshus meaning that they're able to be shy and create Eilam Esbiyah. To enable, the pasuk in Tilim says in Ashrei, top of Amud and Zayin, the tzamtzim is ha'oy. The Gvur of Zah is meaning a tzimtzum of the oir of Zah. And that's how those Oisius of Malchus are able to be in a state of Yeshus. So how do we pull this off? So it's a good thing that the world exists, right? Why is it a good thing the world exists? And when I say the world exists, that the world exists as they're being nivroim, and nifrodim. What is the whole purpose? In order there can be a melech alam. We want to reveal kabeit malchuscha. We want the Eibishter to be the master over the whole world. In order for the Eibishter to be a melech alam, there has to be an am. There has to be a am, lashon eimamus, nivroim and nifrodim, separate entities. Otherwise, there's no Kabbalah still. It doesn't make any sense. Not malachim, not robots, but devarim nifrodim. So, in order for that to be achieved, what has to happen? There has to be Oisius Hadibur of Malchus Atzilus, which are Bechinas Yesh. How are the Oisius Hadibur of Malchus Atzilus Bechinas Yesh? Through Gevura Dezah, through the Tzimtzum Ha'oy. So that if we can cause there to be a Tzimtzum Ha'oy, we can cause that the world can be created, and we can cause that the Eibush should be a Malach Alam. So, for this all to work and this all to function, it's through Isrus Lasata. There's an Aveda of Gvuras Chidaberu. There's an Aveda of being Metzamtim the Eir of Atzilus, such that the Oisius, the Dibur, Oisius, the Malchus Atzilus, should be B'Bechnas Yesh, and be able to create Eilam Nivraim. So how are we going to do that? We have to do Isrus Latata. It's going to be in the same pattern. We're also going to have Gevuris for Tzimtzumim. Kamayim upon him, Kaneim Adam al Adam. Should be the Aveda is going to reflect the Hamshacha. We want that to be a Hamshacha of Gevura, Hamshacha of Gevura of Zach, Hamshacha of Tzimtzum Ha'eres. So if we want that to happen, we have to do it ourselves. Now Aveda, an Aveda of Gevura and Tzimtzumim. Hainu, Liskabe Nege Kol Menei Ma'akiv B'Sumira, to overcome all obstacles and impediments and basically don't do the things you shouldn't be doing. Not follow after your heart. To bend yourself and subdue yourself on every single aspect. To close your eyes from seeing evil. And the same thing applies in positive things. The positive things you need to do, you shouldn't just do them. It's not enough just to do what needs to be done. You have to do it in a manner of fear. If you want to be mamshech gevuros milamayla, if you want to get this whole show in motion, whereby there's a tzimtzum ha'oir of atzilus, And then you have Eisis HaDibur B'chinas Yesh, and then you have Brias HaElam B'chinas Yesh V'Davar Nifrad. You have to do everything B'chinas Kfir. Also in a manner of Gvurav and Tzimtzum. So very well learning. It's a good thing. But it's incomparable learning 100, 101 times. When does Tanya say you're Neiva Delikim? Dafka the 101st time, or rather the Gemara says. The Tanya explains. By forcing yourself to learn more than you're used to. Same thing with giving tzedakah. Should give much more than you're inclined and naturally inclined to give. Because the main thing is there should be a mishpat. There should be a judge. You should be judicious when it comes to giving tzedakah. Person should be very judicious with themselves when it comes to luxurious things, superfluous things, and they should give tzedakah. It could be how do you know that a person, after they've fulfilled all of their taivas, they've got the nice house that they want and the nice car that they want, and they eat everything they want to eat. They're living a nice, comfortable life, and then Baruch Hashem, they have a good panasa. From what's left over, they give to tzedakah. But there's no kfir. He's still, there's a bit of kfir because in a sense he prefers not to give any tzedakah. So the fact he's giving at all is already an act of kfir. But the main thing is that he should kvetch himself and judge and restrict himself in luxuries for himself. Should only take that which he needs for himself and is necessary. And whatever's left should give to tzedakah. And through avodah in this manner, in a way of iskafia, so if a person performs their avodah both in sumir rasi toiv in a manner of iskafia, then it's going to be reflected in the Maila also that the Eibush is also going to have iskafia. Loshen tzimtzum. Liyis b'chinas melech olam. And then you'll have the benefit of emes nivroim nefrodim that the Eibush can be a king over. But Adam HaRishon was Davka Adam HaRishon who said Hashem Molach Geyus Lavish. The Fisha Adam Davka Bavados Imam Shulchan Samlucha. Hashem David Adam HaRishon was Davka the one who was able to be Mamshech Melucha in the world and declare the Eibush as a Melech. Why Adam HaRishon Davka? Mashen King Kedem Shniver Adam HaRishon before Adam HaRishon was created. Hagam Shekvanim Shulchan Tva Melech Shulchan. Even though there's been a hemshekh of Hashem's Dibur Elyin. Hashem ruled the world before Adam HaRishon was around. Right?
Right.
Created everything. So the Eibishter's control over the world was as a tyrant. Forgive the language.
A good tyrant.
Whatever it is, but an authoritarian control.
Yeah.
But there could be such a thing that people are able to be makabel on themselves the Eibish's Ratzain. You have to have the Varin Nefrodim. So al yidei avedus Adam Davka. There are and not just the Varin Nefrodim, the Davka and Adam who's able to do avodah b'chinas kfir v'tzimtzum. Shemetzamtzim maniachas atzmei chul likanal. The person restricts themselves and places themselves up as height. V'zeu kavei malchus chayim meiru gvuras chayda beiru. That the whole creation of the world and all of the nivroim of the Eilam Biyah, where does that come from? It comes from Kavod Malchus, the Levush of Malchus, the Levush Malchus, which we says the Oisius. The Oisius, the Malchus B'chinas Yesh. These Oisius of Malchus being in a state of Yesh. The Heim B'chinas Levush HaMastel is they're able to completely conceal the Oy. You can only have the Dvarim Nifrodim, really Nifrodim, when The Eir is hidden. If you have the Eir Atzilus, which is Begilui, we know what we've already explained at the beginning of the Maimah. What is Eilam Atzilus? There's no space for Yeshus v'nifradim. It's only when you have Kavod Malchus, which is able to be Mailim U'Master on the Eilam Atzilus, that you can have the creation of Eilamus b'Bechinas Yesh. The Sibas had Dov and Masha Oisius in Bechinas Yesh. Why are those Oisius of Malchus Atzilus in a state of Yeshus? So the fish because of the Tzimtzum Ha'Oir. Bechinas Gvuris v'Tzimtzumin l'Tzamtzim Ha'Oir. The Binyan HaMalchus mi'ah Gvuris Davka. Mi'ah Gvura Davka. V'lochein ha'Oisius b'chlal in Bechinas Gvura. K'mishakos beit Chaim Shah Kadeshim Perek Aleph or Bepriyes Chaim Shah Kadeshim. The Sibas ha'Oisius while you bechinas ha'gvura v'hatzimtzum davka. Okay, pounding the point home, right?
Right.
Sibas ha'oisios is the gvura v'tzimtzum. V'heim ba'atzmim bechinas gvura. Even the oisios themselves are also inyan of gvura. Shem bechinas had the gilu eim mitzaratzma. Because the whole notion of a ois is a complete lack of gilu eim. They ma'alimu masdirim aloi. Not just they. It's a complete hell and behest on eim. As we explained, that in the Moshe of Dibur, the Dibur is a complete hell and behester on the Eira Seichel. Only the Chacham Mikvaris, they would understand what you're talking about. But Zois means that Davka Yochel Liyos, it's Avos Ha'elam as Mivraim Debiyah. And it's therefore, because of those Oisius, Bechinas Yesh, that it's possible for there to be the creation of the Elamis and the Nivraim Debiyah. So all of the questions about Lulav ve-Aravah, there's no Siyam HaMaimah, you don't know? But we're going to, that's the end of the Maimah. But it's not the end of the Inyan. The Inyan is to be continued in the next Maimah. So it's a very much a continuation.
So if people in the matter don't do all the scaffold stuff, then the wall just won't be double in front.
It won't be. They won't. It won't be to such an extent.
It'll become more of a dominating sort of control over the world.
You won't have the perfection that comes from the Ratzon Imlucha. Yeah.
And the Ratzon Imlucha wouldn't have been fulfilled.
It wouldn't be able to be fulfilled properly. Yeah. Yeah. So as I warned you, this I believe is the deepest. Deepest, wrong word. As we were going to the next Maimon, is going to be the most difficult part of the hemshekh. Difficult not in Oisius. The Oisius are Baruch Hashem very helpful and Ba'arichus, but the concepts are difficult, and you need to have a more agile mind to be able to work with the musogim, the concepts that are going to be elaborated in this Maimah. But the effort you put into this Maimah, Yom HaShmini Atzeres, is going to be paid back to you in buckets full when we get to the third section of the hemshekh, which is going to rely very heavily on the hesberim and the concepts that will be elucidated and elaborated in Yom HaShmini Atzeres. So, of course, throughout the hemshekh, you've been paying attention, you've been working hard, but it's good to know in advance that you're going to need to gird yourself and prepare yourself for an intense few weeks when we go through this Maimah. So please, for the next year, if you could learn, or try to learn, from the beginning until Samach, until Ubira Inyanhu. And if you can't get that far, at least until Ukumei Ken Yuvan. But do it slowly, methodically, and try and get your head around it. It's a good practice. And then by the Shir, we'll be able to go through it.